I can't hear if you could hear me.
And
Hi,
like
Steve. We can hear you.
73. We look at trying to just add us in there.
Good morning, sunshine.
I'm good. I pass. Oh,
Yes, sir.
We
Is Fran on? My friend is on.
Yes, she is.
permit.
Okay. Just give me 30 seconds. There we
When you
go.
say thing, it's
I know
fair.
the Jim Carrey.
Is it?
Yeah, he was like,
don't actually
Oh.
know what.
Never mind. It's too
I know.
slow.
It's- yeah, it's
I don't
not.
think it's been updated.
Okay, because I was just amazed that, because I'm on the board for a condo
to
association.
get to school.
How do we
And
even
this is
out?
what-
Is that your
It's
test?
just lagging by like 15
That's
seconds.
the permit.
This should close.
Price, $300. So.
You're here
I'm
for
just
night.
I'm just wondering where
Yeah, in the street.
Sorry, Malia, it's lagging in here.
the recurring ones too.
I did. Yeah,
All the
So-
different
So
programs.
then
So
Glenn-
within-
Glenn
it's stuck.
first day.
Well, I think
It's
it's,
just lagging.
Yeah.
it's something they're already looking at.
Okay.
So if everybody, every program's already got their permit.
No.
I did. We did.
It's just
And then you
slow.
can have, you can, you know.
I mean,
the one
Yeah, we
that's
tested
on-
this earlier. It has a mind of its own.
yeah, it's old.
You know, I don't know, they can have-
There we
Yeah.
go.
Okay. We got to service.
Okay.
We get it closer to you guys, not me.
All right, are we ready?
Malia, we're good. Thank you.
Okay, let's get started. Top of day. This is the Guam EPA Board of Directors.
Ready? Can you put yourself on mute? Or I'll mute you. I can hear background.
Okay. Good afternoon. This is the Guam EPA Board of Directors regular meeting. Today's date, Thursday, March 20th. The approximate time is 4:00 p.m. This meeting is being recorded. We'll go around the room. Stephen Carbolito.
Steve Hollister.
Kathleen Moreland.
For those attending virtually, Director Fran Castro.
Fran Castro calling in from EPAN.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Stephen Carrara.
Calling in from New York.
Hi. Director Danny Katingfong. Can you please turn on your,
Danny Tatifong calling in from Agatnia.
thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thank you. Hearing that we have quorum and all the public notices went out, let's get this meeting started. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the.
Steve,
A second.
second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Let's hit 6B first, confirmation of Mr. Johnson Nicolas as Guam EPA Acting Deputy Administrator first. So Michelle has requested that Glenn be her number 2. So I think this is a great choice. So yeah, we're here today to sign this resolution that Glenn will now be the Guam EPA Acting Deputy Administrator. Let's make,
Congratulations, Glenn.
yeah, do some.
Congratulations.
Oh, motion to make him deputy.
Thank
I'll
you.
make the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you, Glenn. Excellent to have you here. Next item, approval of the meeting minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes, but I do have one change on
Okay,
page.
go ahead, Fran. What item do you want us to look at?
Under page 2, agency headquarters, just, I think it's just a typo, like update negotiations still in progress, and then it says no contact. I think
Oh.
it's supposed to be no contract.
Good.
Got
one.
it. Thank you, Ms.
Yes.
Fran.
No contracts. Okay, there's a motion to approve the minutes, changing contact to contract. That's a second. Any discussion? Does anyone need more time? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes.
And you need to clean that as well.
Okay, we have a full room here. What's up?
They heard us support for our boss.
Just came in to support Glenn, but
Oh, of
we didn't
course.
think he was the first on the agenda. We looked at the agenda and he was towards the end, so we said we'd come later, and then you guys did it fast and we're happy, so
We
congratulations.
can-
Okay, so you guys continue.
Okay. That's the most important topic.
For us, it was,
You can all stay.
it's okay.
Cool, excellent. Yes, okay, I'll turn it over to you, Glenn, for the administrative report.
Okay. Good day, my name is Glenn Nicolas. I am the acting deputy for Guam EPA, and I'll be reporting the administrative report for our Guam EPA administrator, Michelle Lastimosa, who's currently off island to the Guam EPA board, February 2025. We start with agency updates from February 21st to March 14th. Administrative personnel as of March 19th, 25, full-time equivalent FTEs, we have 55 employees, broken down to 46 classified, 3 unclassified, 4 limited term appointments, 1 EPA contract, and 1 intern. Under recruitment, all the recruitment announcements are closed, waiting for certification packets from DOA, Department of Administration, for the following positions: Chief Engineer, Environmental Inspector Supervisor, Environmental Technician, and 2 Environmental Health Specialist 3s. Pending recruitment for the following positions: Public Information Officer, 1 Environmental Health Specialist 1, 2 Environmental Health Specialist 2s, 1 Engineer Supervisor, and 3 Engineer 1s. For new hires, we have a reinstatement for one of our environmental inspectors who's back with us. He'll be starting on March 31st out of the Safe Drinking Water Program. March 24th. Okay, March 24th, so 31st. And we picked up 1 biologist 1 pending drug test. Agency headquarters update. Negotiations are still in progress. No contract signed at this time. No other details available. The bidder has consulted with 3 lab specialists, and they will be providing DPW, Department of Public Works, with their preliminary lab design estimate. With this, the bidder expects to submit their final fee proposal before the end of next week. Under policy, this is supposed to be Bill 30-38. An act to add a new Article 11 to Chapter 51A of Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, and add a new Section 14104P to Chapter 14 of the Title 12, Guam Code Annotated, relative to establishing the Guam Solid Waste Authority Island-wide Collection Plan. I submitted testimony on behalf of the agency this afternoon at the legislature in support of this bill. I can add that on the next board meeting, testimony.
Okay, real quick, about what is the bill saying?
Basically, it's a second draft of the universal waste service.
Pick up for everybody.
Correct. And they kind of like break it down to some of the exemptions. They identify low income family participation and some possible mechanisms on trying to fund those programs. The plastic bag ban, Public Law 3698, effective July 1st, 2025, paper carryout bags will be phased out. We met with Senator Lujan affecting luxury brand bags. Luxury labels will be affixed by this deadline, which only allows an exemption for permitted restaurants and food establishments, basically pre-processed foods. Guam EPA is agreeable that branded luxury bags used in product packaging are equivalent to standard reusable supermarket bags, only fancier. So with this, it's basically if the brand has a bag that's associated with it, like Prada, for instance, they don't use Prada bags for any other items but Prada brands. So it's a part of the packaging is how we're arguing, as opposed to a paper bag that's given out at the point of sale. So it's a part of the packaging.
And this isn't new, it's just a law that's had a 2-year period or something.
Correct. Actually, the ban for paper bag was extended from July 1st, 2022. And then because of the luxury brand, they were, they basically engaged with the senator asking for extension because they didn't have the opportunity to exhaust their supply.
So I mean, that's part of that shopping experience. If you're spending
Yes.
that much money for something, you don't want to walk out. Like,
Right, yeah.
it's
And-
part of it. I
And then
get it.
it's a luxury brand, so it's not like it's made available. You can't just buy a Louis Vuitton bag and get a Coke or get, something that is not of the brand. So you can argue that because it's a part of the brand and it only is used with the brand, that it's a part of the packaging, right?
Would that come back to bite anyone per se, like Payless or any other establishment like that? Because I know Ross doesn't give out bags, Payless doesn't give out bags. You don't have one,
Right.
you carry it out or buy.
Yes. So for the paper bag ban, the only exceptions right now is for pre-processed foods. And then the 9 exemptions that are listed on the plastic bag ban. So basically, if it's used for any of those uses, then it's exempt. It's not considered a bag per se. But in relation to the luxury brands, it could be argued that it's part of packaging as opposed to, regular carryout bags. Programs, projects, and partnerships. The Recycling Revolving Fund audit. So Guam EPA met with the Office of Public Accountability, who will be auditing the Recycling Revolving Fund 559-1001-619-00 3619-62201. And one of their requests is to review the financial statements from fiscal years 2017 to 2024. Guam EPA has requested the financial statements from Department of Administration for the fiscal years 2017 to 2024 for their review. US EPA meeting with Emerging Contaminants, Small Disadvantaged Communities Program Coordinator. Brian Kawashima will oversee Guam EPA's ECSDC grant. Discuss current funding and uncertainty of future funding pending US EPA internal review of grant awards. Because of the new administration, they're now looking back at all the different grant awards to see how it's going to affect the grants. Congressman Moylan's DC points of contact. We met with Michael Siaka, legislative assistant to Congressman Moylan. Mr. Siaka is working on Congressman's natural resources and environmental portfolio. We discussed Guam EPA's work and priorities, and if there was any policy priorities or policy requests that the board would like to flag, then we can go ahead and pass it forward to the congressman. Also on the call with Mr. Chris Lucas, military legislative assistant, who can assist with issues that overlap with Department of Defense. Regional Ecosystem Advisory Committee. So these are other committees that Guam EPA sits in, and we are part of the working group. The REACT is a advisory group focused on supporting healthy ecosystems and fostering collaboration in the region. Provides recommendations to the Western Pacific Regional Fisheries Management Council, which is under Megson-Stevenson Fishery Conservation and Management Act. Has authority over fisheries seaward of state territorial waters in Hawaii and US Pacific Islands. Discuss fisheries status, issues, ecosystems, plans, stock assessments, marine conservation plans, and Department of Defense activities that impact access to fishing locations. The Seashore Reserve Plan Working Group, individuals from the network agencies and partner discuss the various topics covered in the draft SRP. Land use is key in guiding decisions, development, and patterns of uses within the Seashore Reserve. Importance of the ridge to reef approach and the consideration that socioeconomic factors or geographical features may indirectly affect coastal environmental health. And goal is to sustainably maintain and grow Guam's economy and society while protecting the reserve's natural charm and cultural value. The SRP will provide the goals, policies, and strategies for land and marine usage and delivers guidelines for development within the Seashore Reserve. Working Group for Construction on New Hospital. Guam EPA continues to provide technical support to the working group on the siting and the development of the new hospital location. The Pacific Islands Brownfields Peer Group to increase the knowledge, capacity, and peer network of the Pacific Islands communities in the identification, cleanup, and revitalization of brownfield sites while navigating identifiable barriers to reuse. Identify opportunities for federal resources, funding, and services that can contribute, be leveraged towards brownfields projects. Increase peer relationships with members, can learn from one another's experiences and develop collaboration partnerships. Increase the number of EPA brownfield grants, services, applications from the Pacific Islands. Documentation and communication of barriers and possible solutions to the EPA, other federal government agencies. So the brownfields basically is the redevelopment of impacted properties that would nonetheless have not been developed because of the impacts of either soil contamination and so forth. So depending on the type of contamination and the levels of contamination, it'll fall into unrestricted use, which is residential use. You can build a school, you can have daycares, etc. Then you have commercial uses for a little bit more impacted soil contamination. And of course, the most restricted use would be the use for industrial. So it's the worst contamination, but it's less than the hazardous waste site for redevelopment. Homeless encampment cleanup. On March 10th, 2025, Hensa Beach at Pago Bay. The Hensa Beach is right after Pago Bay River and right before the Pago Bay Reserve redevelopment. Multiple government agencies participated in the coastal cleanup in that area. Guam EPA had 11 volunteers from our agency and provided a 30 cubic yard roll-up dumpster. Watershed Planning Committee quarterly meeting. Discuss Guam hydrological surveys and watershed naming through the Kushan tomorrow. Manel Gayas Watershed Plan. NOAA and Horsley Witten Group report out. So plan approval by EPA allows Guam to expand the Clean Water Act 319 funding to support recommended restoration activities upon approval by the Guam EPA administrator. The next steps is for BSP Coastal Zone Management will establish a public notice period for the plan, a 30-day review comment period, and possibly a community meeting. The Guam Forest System Plan will be spearheaded by the Department of Agriculture and the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. Promulgation of the rules and regulations. The Tumon-based stormwater management will be WERI, AIA, which is the American, I guess, Institute of Architects, GIPA, and the Guam Coastal Management Program. The kickoff meeting was held on January 13th. The MOU is at DOA. The GCMP is the Guam Coastal Management Program under the bipartisan infrastructure law, capacity building grants projects, training and technical assistance to build watershed and conservation planning capacity in Guam. A total of $501,801 was awarded to provide training for 3 years. Scheduling of training workshops to ensure participation of relevant agencies. Stormwater training is scheduled for August 20, 2025. Development of programmatic agreement with SHPO, the State Historical Preservation Office, for watershed restoration projects. $90,000 was awarded to be implemented in year 2 of the grant. Humatak Revitalization Plan, total of $95,000 in year 1 and $95,000 in year 3. Water quality standards updates, EPA's developing draft triennial review notice. Guam EPA is attending the water quality standard workshop in late April. Attainable House Commission meeting received debrief of Gura Housing Summit. Guam received $500,800,000 in community development block grant over 6 years. Activities may address needs such as infrastructure, economic development, projects, public facilities, installation, community center housing rehabilitation, public services, clearance acquisitions, micro enterprise assistance, code enforcement, homeowner assistance, etc. Discuss committee reports, statutes, and rules for DPW and Department of Land Management. Development of environmental would be under the committee of Guam EPA and GWA, Guam Water Authority. Finance and loans would be Guam Housing Corporation and Guam Economic Development Authority. Labor shortage would be under Moral Land Trust and Department of Labor. U.S. EPA Pacific Islands monthly lab check-in is status quo. They've been briefed with any progress concerning the lab construction. Mariana Island Conservation Strategy. Met with Stephanie Hertz, who serves as the Recovery and Sustainment Partnership, RAS, coordinator for the Department of Defense, DOD, Natural Resources Program within the Office of the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, Environmental Management and Restoration, Ronald Tinkle. The RAS is a partnership between the Department of Defense and the Department of Interior focused on developing and promoting conservation and recovery initiatives for threatened, endangered, and at-risk species while promoting increased flexibility for military mission activities. Discuss proactive, innovative, and collaborative approaches that enhance implementation of the Endangered Species Act, sustain and enhance the military mission, and achieve greater conservation outcomes for species. Meeting with NAFAC Marianas. Discussion on the memorandum of agreement in regards to the design review and design self-certification. And then we have the permit activity from February 17th to March 14th attached. Did you want me to go over that?
No.
Did you want me to go over the NAFAC Marianas self-certification? So we met with NAFAC Marianas along with John Solis, Albert Borja from Marine Corps Base and Jan from, I think it was Joint Region. And they were talking about supporting and starting a pilot for design review, utilizing their professional engineers to do the reviews, 2 engineers at a minimum to conduct the design review for self-certification. If permits start to take longer than expected to review. So after 30 days, they'll put in a request, hey, we have this project that we need to, review. Can we do our self-certification? We'll have our 2 engineers who is third-party contractors with DoD to review it utilizing Guam EPA's permit checklist that was developed by DoD and Guam EPA. So based on that permit review with 2 professional engineers, they'll now they can review permits that are kind of taking a little longer than normal to process through, which will help definitely our staff ensure that all those boxes are check marked, and of course with the final approval with Guam EPA.
So Quorum EPA will still review it.
And after the basically it's going to be processed and reviewed using the checklist, and then we have to sign off.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a part of it.
Because they go through like their submittal process, but a lot of the holdup is the design review. With like the construction drawings and stuff like that. So it
Correct.
sounds like the PE will start reviewing those.
Yes.
And-
So what they plan to do is based on the checklist, they want to try and streamline the plans that are submitted in the drawings because they're submitting everything under the sun, and it can consist of hundreds of documents and hundreds of papers of review that may or may not be a part of our review process. So to streamline that process, they're trying to tighten it up and provide the drawings and pertinent information that would help us to review in a timely manner, utilizing our checklists.
They submit that package because it's in the checklist.
Okay, great.
Go ahead.
No. Oh, I was quick to raise my hand. Okay. No, I just wanted any word, are any of these grants gonna get yanked? Have you heard anything? You don't, or what, in terms of this one, the GCMP,
Mhm.
like the capacity building grants, 501,000?
So a lot of these grants, they were either awarded and we kind of are like in that safe zone because they're like either 2, 3, and 5 year grants. So we're kind of like safe in that regard, but they're still reaching back to the region to figure out if any of those grants are going to be pulled back or if any future grants are going to be affected moving
So
forward.
you're
under
in the
administration.
second year, you're not in the first year, the
Right.
monies have already been
Yes.
expended. Okay, well, very good. I guess that's good news. And my only other question is, on the hiring, is that process and the timeline with DOA, are you finding that it's timely? Or is it, seems to fill these positions, or does this take months?
I think that it is timely because I just finished signing the GT1s for most of those positions.
Okay, good.
So it's in queue. The problems that we're having in filling vacancies is filling vacancies with the right people, or if people can apply for the position. And even reading the job descriptions, I feel intimidated. Like, man, am I really doing this work? So it kind of is intimidating. But I think that once it's announced and we start getting applicants, we'll have the interview process. Normally they'll send up the top 5 and then we'll do an interview. And then there's a lot of vacancies that we're looking at trying to fill. And we got approval from Carl Goldstein, our Region Pacific Islands Office Manager, that supports us in filling those vacancies.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brian?
Okay, I just wanted to ask a question about the water quality standards update. Can you tell me more about that process and what kind of data are you guys gonna be considering for that?
So the results of the sampling results we have not received it yet. So we're just waiting for the results, and because we didn't get it for this board meeting, we'll most likely report it on the next.
Who's doing the sampling? And where?
Oh, I think she's talking about what was on the administrative report.
Oh,
The water
The
quality
water
standard
quality, yeah.
under watershed planning.
other time,
Yeah.
So that's the part of the US EPA's review for that.
Yeah, so Water Division will, they'll chime in. Our non-point source program will also be part of that. They're gonna go through the existing water quality standards. They're gonna look at any updates from US EPA or new things that we've learned about on the island and say, okay, do we need to adjust our current water quality standards to update them? Or do we think they're still appropriate? Once they've finalized that, they'll be back and forth with US EPA just on drafts, I'm sure. But then we'll public notice that for at least 30 days and bring it back. Once it's been public notice, then we'll submit to US EPA for their review and approval. Does that help, ma'am?
Yes, but I just also want to point out that we did a study back in 2021 on Southern Guam watersheds, and that data might be also useful for this.
Oh, great, thanks.
So I can send you the publication.
That'd be brilliant. I'm sure Marge has it, but that would be useful.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Okay, if there's no other questions, that concludes the administrator's report. So
But on the NAPAC, who's coming up with the idea, the review and design self-certification? Is it EPA?
I think, you know, this was actually, in the past, we actually had interns, rotating through the agency from DOD engineers. They'll do their first, 6 to 8 months with the agency, working the process, understanding, what we're looking for, and just, understanding the volume of reviews that we're going through. And then they kind of rotate out. That stopped. I thought that was a really great program. It helped with the review process. And of course, ultimately, Guam EPA is the final approver on that. The idea was around, and I think with the increase of DoD projects coming in, it was a collective idea, driven by DoD, of course, that we look at the idea of providing support to the agency in terms of, getting some of the plans that are taking longer than normal to review and having their contractors review it with 2 professional engineers, which is, I think is really good that they're doing that
But they're employed by the military.
as a contract, yeah.
That's.
But remember the
That's not a
final,
problem.
the final approval authority would be Guam EPA, utilizing our checklist. So they're basically,
But we
going
don't
through-
have a PE to
Yeah,
do that.
we don't.
Is there any way the stuff that you guys mentioned that the paper, the designs are hundreds of pages? Can be, is there any way you can trim that down and say, this is what we want to see? And then maybe we can review it. The stuff that's pertinent to us,
Yes.
that we could review it instead of just trusting them. I mean, I'm not saying that these guys self-certification. I mean, they're employed by somebody, and if someone's gonna start hammering on somebody who is employing them, right? Maybe they'll find themselves not employed. You get what I'm saying? So I just find that I find that troubling, and I don't want anybody to take advantage of one. I mean, I can mow the lawn and I say, oh, this is great, self-certified, but it's not until my wife gets home, checks it out and says.
And
"Oh,
then
you
that
missed
wife in that case would be Guam EPA.
Okay, but, and,
But what's the process? They self-certify it, the Guam EPA still has to permit it, so what happens in between the two? Like, they self-certify it, and what can we do with that self-certification?
So I think it just helped with the review process.
But
They'll
they
have
still
a,
can't build, yeah.
no,
even with-
no,
yeah,
no,
okay.
we have to,
But you still have to
yeah, we have to.
permit it.
Right.
You need to get a permit. before you-
Yes, correct.
So their self-certification is
And it's a
just them
design.
saying
Yeah.
that they comply with the checklist.
Yeah, so it's the 60 percent design, 100% designs. So in between those designs, there will be reviews, and the agency will have inputs into that process as well. It's just that for the grunt of the work and check marking the boxes to ensure that it's complete and compliant, they'll be the first set of eyes to make sure that's done.
is this a temporary thing until we get a PE to do this?
Well, it's a pilot that we were looking at trying out to see how that works out. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna self-certify this. Okay, I'm gonna do it. No, it's there's a timeline, right? If it starts to fall behind the timeline, then they're gonna engage with Guam EPA. They're gonna say, hey, we're in here that 30-day mark. Is there a way we can go ahead and have our PEs review the work plan and provide you that information to help us?
So it's a case by case?
Yeah, it's not just by default.
Yeah, basically, the owner still has to get, the contractor still has to get a permit from Guam EPA before they could build. But basically, at the 60% design phase, they're gonna self-certify, like, hey, we follow their checklist. But still at the 100%, they're gonna have to get the permit.
Correct. And in with your question, we are recruiting for a chief engineer. So
Yeah,
anybody out there who's
I know. Yeah. And then the watershed planning committee when was that?
I think it was the watershed planning committee.
So you're the one that attends that?
I attend, and also, Margaret Aguilar, non-point source for
Oh,
Ready
okay. good.
from EMS.
Where's that?
I was at the governor's complex in the large conference room.
You guys covered a lot of topics.
Yes, it was
How-
a 2-hour meeting
Yeah.
plus. Oh yeah,
And then, where, for the REACT advisory committee, where's that headquartered?
The REACT is a grant. Let me see.
Oh, it's
So
not a physical body.
Oh, the REACT's part of the Western Pacific.
regional official management. Yeah, and Guam EPA is a part of the working group.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Any
so it
other
was 12 March.
any other board questions or comments? Oh, I have, and maybe it's Glenn or Connie, but the recycling revolving fund, has the closeout reports been signed off and everything completed?
Oh, sorry.
This is Connie. Is this for with the mayor's council?
Yes.
I have not gotten anything yet from the executive director of the mayor's council. I can follow up with them for FY 2024 and 23, I believe, because 24, remember, their funds rolled over. So whatever was left over in their account, they were able to use for FY 25. So I have not really gotten with them in regards to the funds that have been obligated already and expended.
Okay, so FY 24, so that's 2023 to 2024. And then FY 23 is Guam EPA and the mayor's council in agreement, at least, with all the funds that were spent.
I believe Sabrina did confirm with the then acting mayor, the executive mayor or the consul. see Jesse Alec. Prior to the new executive director coming in, Joy Jean Arceo. I believe they came to an agreement. So I'm just working with Joy Jean on all the balances for the prior years since 21.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Connie.
We should have an update for you by next board meeting in regards to all those remaining fiscal years.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's move forward. So did we talk about 5A? We said the sample results are not ready. Okay, thank you. 5B, enforcement. Director Hossler, did you want to bring up anything here?
Yeah, I brought this up because, and I mentioned this last time, but I feel like for a lot of people, EPA, Guam EPA is something they have to tolerate instead of something they respect. And I want to know, what we're doing on enforcement, how many inspectors do we have out there actually inspecting things? And just like a week after our last meeting, there was a KUAM report about the spiral staircase going into the Tuman, and how the sand feels different. And, the news report. Yeah. And Michelle spoke in the news report and saying how we have all these regulations and they have to follow, but is it being followed? I mean, the news people said, oh, the contractor said the waves come into that part of the beach differently. That's why the sand feels different. Right? No, it's never. And I even, when they were building Subaki, I took pictures of runoff, and I mentioned that here at one of our meetings. How I was staying at one of the other hotels and I looked out and you could clearly see how the water was a different color coming off of the construction site. And I think you even said you went in and checked it or had someone go check it and you couldn't find anything. But it was clearly, to me, it was, so I'm just wondering, unfortunately, if someone's not there or holding people accountable more often than apparently what we're doing, they're going to cut corners and not follow the procedures that are we have great laws, but we got to enforce them. If we don't enforce them, no one's going to follow them. And that spiral staircase is just an example of my frustrations and what I see going on around the island. And so I'm wondering, one, how many people are out there enforcing our policies? What can we as a board do to help enforcement or help that branch of the agency? And yeah, I mean, that's primarily what I'm looking for. I want to know what we can do to help. Because if there is a problem, which there, just from the layman's eyes, from my eyes, it seems to be a problem. I want to know what we can do, but I'd like to have a status report on our enforcement here and the processes that go through it, whatnot. Just that. That's what I was trying to get across last time.
Did a better job today.
This time, I know she did a great job at clearing it up, didn't she?
So normally when we receive a complaint, like I'll give you an example, solid waste is an example, right? So every other week they shift from Tuesday, Thursday, field work, Monday, Wednesday, admin. The admin consists of basically writing up the field reports, reviewing occupancy permits and, reviewing building permits, doing permits and writing up enforcement actions. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they do complaints, occupancy inspections and inspections. Those would be the three things. And like most of the agency, when they receive a complaint, it's logged into Walter's database, then it's tracked. It's referred to the appropriate program for inspection and follow-up. We do an inspection. We get all the information we possibly can. If there's somebody we can talk to, the property owner, and if no property owner, then we basically have to do a research. We have to look up the land parcel and find out who the owners of the property are. Then we engage with the owners. And then with the engagement, we do a field inspection with them and go through the violations. If there's any, or if they're aware of any violations. And if, let's say, the owners or the tenants or the building or the business is in violation, then we do a notice of violation, AKA written warning for compliance. We give them the opportunity to correct the violations that we identify. After we normally use 2 weeks, but I was just reading the US EPA and Guam EPA MOA. It's normally 30 days. And we've been saying 2 weeks. So I think I need to change that up. But let's say after 2 weeks, there's no action. Then we proceed with the notice of violation order of compliance, which then puts them on the clock. And then after 30 days, no action, then we have to refer them to either the AGs or take them to court. But during that NOVOC, they have the opportunity to contest it to the board. And then the board will go ahead and get a hearing officer to hear the case. And then whatever is decided, then, enforcement action. But what we're seeing is non-compliance. So with the non-compliance, I'm thinking that I spoke to Kristen about, the idea of taking people to court because, of non-compliance. But, basically that's a process. Now, if it's illegal dumping or littering from an individual on public properties or private properties without the consent of the owner of the property, then we issue a litter citation. The litter citation is issued via either hand delivered or certified mail, and then the card stock is basically given to the violator, and then the 2 copies are placed in the litter citation box that is locked and chained with the courts. We bring it down to the courts, they log it in, and they put it on the agenda. So now they're waiting for timelines. If the timeline comes and it passes, then the courts basically send their court marshals out and they subpoena everybody to come in and explain the citation. The alleged violators can contest it and meet with the judge and meet with the officers to explain their cause. Or they can just pay the citation. So those are the 2 options. If it does go to court, it's going to be on the judge's decision on what happens next. My last 4 cases, even though I felt that I had good evidence, was dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be very dependent on the situation and the judge.
There's one particular judge with it. That's
No,
okay.
no, there's 3 that I've experienced.
Okay. All that sounds very time consuming. How much time does that take from a complaint coming in up until the point where the case got dismissed?
So we try to get complaints first out. And of course, there's complaints that would be prioritized. If it's a leak, if it's a fire, if it's something else, then we'll prioritize that. But I think we've been pretty good in responding. What's very difficult is not having the resources to track individuals and track lot numbers and owners and driver's license and registered vehicles and stuff like that. We have to work with the different agencies and basically fill out the document. We get in line with everybody else, submit, wait for them to either fill it out or they'll say, okay, this is a lot. Can you come back, in a couple of days, and then they'll get that to us, and then we use that. Then we proceed with our investigation, which most likely would lead to the issuance of a citation or notice.
Is it a citation like, can it be like something like the police give for like speeding or something like that, running a stop sign?
Yes, under 10 GCA Chapter 51, Article 2, the Vehicle Control Act, we have 9 apprehending agencies, one of which is Guam EPA, and the other enforcement entities, Guam Police Department is included. So is the airport, port police, the rangers, park rangers, conservation officers, the mayor's council. They can all issue citations for litter citations on violations as well.
That's
Um,
immediate. So, I mean, a homeowner, if someone caught polluting or doing something, be given a ticket right then.
Yeah, so again, if let's say the owner of the property is accumulating solid waste on their property, right? Then it's Article 1, which is the solid waste management program. And basically what that entails is a notice of violation with a written warning, and then notice of violation, order of compliance. We're now telling them and ordering them, now you have to clean up and you have this time frame. And then, of course, after the cleanup, we issue the administrative penalty orders that comes with penalties based on the number of days in violation. So the APO doesn't happen until it's cleaned up. So we have cases where it's open.
Yeah, because I know we've had
Yeah.
things here for years.
Yeah, so that's where we need to figure out, what's the way forward for cases like that.
So is this so notice about it. So one of the inspectors goes out and checks. How many inspectors are there?
There's 4, including me.
4.
But that's water.
Yes.
Solid
So-
waste has their own.
Yeah, so, and then we have 3 to include myself
For
for solid waste. And then Has Waste has, of course, they have Has Waste inspectors for their EPID facilities, underground storage tanks, and underground storage tanks. Water pollution has their, and then you have the air pollution control program, who goes out and enforces air violations. You have the pesticides program, who enforces pesticide violations.
and those guys are all in these 55 people
Yeah.
here at the agency.
Yes, and mind you that these are just agency complaints for the whole agency, on top of the permits and the occupancy inspections that they need to do. And when I say permits, it's building permits and facility permits. So,
So for the enforcement part, then how, if you were to give yourself a grade, give Guam EPA a grade, what would we give ourselves? As far as like doing what the enforcement that we're supposed to do, whether we're capable because of manpower, employee shortages or other things getting in the way, people dismissing things.
I'd say a B, if it's a grade. There's always room for improvement. And I think that with more enforcement officers out there, I think that we can get more done on the enforcement side. Likewise with the permitting and the reviews. And we're there's a misconception that, and maybe for some agencies it is, but that we're overmanned. And I think the government is not overmanned. I think that we're already operating on vapors. We're trying to just survive
Well, with
with the
4
resources that we have.
inspectors going around the island trying to, that would be daunting.
And again, we have, a total of 9 agencies. So we already have police that's already doing 24, they're doing shift work. Likewise with parks, they police and enforce their violations on the parks. I've got airport and port police who also enforces their mandated areas.
Yeah, and
And
the
those are on
mayors
shift
too,
work.
but
Yeah.
mayors want to get reelected, so they're not, I mean, I have not seen in the 27 years I've been on Guam, I haven't seen anybody get a ticket for littering. Now, I know we do, but personally, I haven't run into, somebody or, I've seen people litter and wish I could give them a ticket.
And you
But-
can
but-
just do a citizens,
It
but
really,
it's gonna take you to wanna report it, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't. They don't want to be involved. They'll report it and go out and try and find the alleged violator.
Yep.
They want to.
They don't want to go to court, is what it is.
Confidential.
Yeah, so
They
they,
start saying, we want to keep it confidential.
Mhm.
But then information that they put on the complaint, it's not all complete.
Yeah.
So you go out there, you try to make heads or tails on, you really have to be experienced to know what you're looking for when you're out there, especially when they don't give you the whole detail.
I mean, just over the weekend, we had, or last Friday, it was like at 5 o'clock, right, when everybody was out. And, there was a call from a contractor saying, hey, you got hazardous waste dumped out over here. And, you got hard fill material. And so I have to, okay, what, you have to clarify, what do you mean by hazardous waste? Oh, it's bubbling. And so, of course, we sent our hazardous guys out there, and that wasn't the case. It was, backfill that was mixed with, debris, hard fill material type stuff. But, it's stuff like that, so people, when they say hazardous, we'll get like wastewater complaints. Why is it waste? Why are you reporting this as solid waste? Oh, because it's solid waste. So we have to kind of, educate them, and then we refer them to the appropriate program for follow-up enforcement.
So Glenn, you walked us through the process. That was mostly for solid waste.
For the most part, solid waste, but on the water pollution side of the house, they can do a field stop order, stop this project now and get this done. So they different programs, but for the most part, that's the standard. You do the investigation, you either give a warning, you can do a field citation, you can do a stop
That's
order.
where I come.
Yeah. So can you get an update on the status of enforcement in water?
So with our own enforcement is basically the same procedure. We do the stop work order, and it's on a case by case basis.
How about with this first off? They're going out Tuesdays, Thursdays. How about water?
Water goes out every day. So going back to your Sparrow, when we heard about that in the news, the following day I went out there. That's the first thing I checked. And I come in here at 6. The first thing I did was I took my inspector and said, let's go out there. We gotta check this. I know that lady boss is gonna be wondering what's going on here. So we did. We went out, we checked, and we did what we're supposed to be looking for, which is their as per built plans and their soil erosion control plans. Everything that was there is what we saw. As far as the top part, the bottom part was already pretty much done for the stairway going down. So the bottom part was pretty much done. As far as the silt on the beach, I cannot answer that because I didn't go out to the water to touch that water. I just went to the staircase going down and the top part. They were mixing cement, trying to finish off the walkway, which was in the plans. That showed that that's what they were gonna do. So we didn't do anything because before that incident, we went out like about maybe like two months again. Before that last incident that you're talking about. And we went out, they got into compliance. The only thing that when I say they got into compliance, there's no issue with because they were saying that they were cutting the lime and it was going out to the ocean and all that. But when we went out, that wasn't the case. And the people that are seeing that are canoe goers. They go in the canoe, they see that, and they see a large staircase coming down, and they're like, "Oh, that's illegal,"
Isn't it though? I didn't think you could change the.
Well, the thing is, when that was approved, it was approved back then during Brian's time. So Brian is very hard to get things to be approved. So it's obvious that everything they did was in compliance to that permit. And you're right, it is hard to get that. I myself was like, wow, they actually got a permit to do this.
Because I thought like everything within.
But it took
10
years
feet
for
of
them.
The high water mark was public property.
I'm not sure about that. I cannot answer that. I'm just doing the inspection part of the building, I know that.
Well, that report on the news, where people get their news, and the perception is that Guam EPA isn't
I know.
doing their job. Everybody has an idea that contractors do what they want as soon as someone turns their back to them. So, and that's where I came in at first, and I said, we're tolerated, we're not.
And you know what? I'm gonna admit it. You're right. The reason why I'm gonna admit that is because we're having a problem with the permit process. When they get their permit, we give them a pamphlet for the BMPs, the silk fence. Okay, when we give them that, it's in the packet. They don't put up their BMPs. So that's
the
when
packet that ends up on the floorboard of the truck.
Well,
I think they're just happy that they got their permit,
No, it should be in the drawings.
but they're not putting up their BMPs. So what I did was I say, hey, this has to change. I sat down with Velma, and I also let Michelle know. I said, boss, we're going backwards in this. I said, when I was back there, I noticed that the way they do it is they have to put the silk fence up, and then they get the permit. So in other words, you put the silk fence up, and then EPA's inspectors go out, they look at it, it's good, BMP's approved. Take that copy that's approved and go over to the permit, which is Velma, and says, hey, can I get my permit now? Because so what happens is she'll call them and let them know that their permit is ready, and they have to get their own property inspected with the BMPs.
Yeah, that would
Right?
seem logical to me.
And another thing is, when it comes to the floods and all that, and as I told you earlier, a while back, that a lot of the flooding part, the complaint is supposed to go to Public Works and land management.
Ron, I'm sorry. Can you go ahead and just introduce yourself for the record?
I'm
Someone
sorry.
online is asking who you are.
My name is Ron Charfus. I'm an inspector for Guam EPA. I'm the acting supervisor for the inspectors.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
So then, Glenn, you gave Guam EPA a B. Then what can we do to help us get in a? What I mean is there
Well, real
anything?
quick, I have a
Oh, okay.
question.
I'm sorry.
So you said Tuesday, Thursday, you complaints and occupancy at holidays. Monday to Friday, what inspections do you do?
We do whatever comes in. We try not to sit down on it. But if there's a complaint that comes in, we hit that first.
So all inspections, whatever.
All inspections. There's no exceptions.
So like you're inspecting septic tanks.
I'm in and out. We're
doing
doing,
lead-free.
no, not the lead free. The lead free is with another program. It's under Safe Drinking.
So I
So,
know before, I'm not sure about, and right now on the Monday to Friday, but like, Guam EPA will go out to projects randomly and do a walk around of all the BMPs.
That's what we're doing. If we get them to start putting up the silk fence before they get their permit, we don't have to worry about.
Well, they can't get their permit. They can't, or no, they can't build their construction drawings until they get a permit.
They can do their BMPs. They cannot build. They have to put up their silk
Before a
fence
building
around.
permit?
Yeah. They can do it because they need to pick the silk fence up and they're not gonna clear the whole thing.
But
So
you-
basically,
they could install silt fence
Yes.
before receiving the DPW or the CGDS permit.
no,
So that's not.
the permit is ready, right? So in order for them to get their permit, they gotta put on all corners. I'm not telling them to clear the whole thing. Because when you clear the whole thing and you use the heavy equipment, you must have a permit.
No, you have to install your silt fence
Yeah.
before you clearing grades, but you have to have a building permit before you can install your silt fence.
If you're gonna clear the whole property. You're only, if you're not clearing the whole property and you're only gonna go from one point, meaning the markers.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not asking them to clear the whole thing. You're just gonna clear only for the silk fence. And a lot of them will just set their silk
Okay.
fence down.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's in the construction
Yeah.
drawings, it's in their
yes,
width, it's.
yes,
There's
exactly.
times when you have to, sorry, so that's
Yes.
fine. But anyways, so do you still do those inspections where you go out to the construction sites, like, let's say at day 100 and see the status of the project?
What we do is we go around. I'm not gonna say during day 100, but what we do is we go around and there's days we do compliance. We go around and if we don't see it, like right now, we don't see it, so we have to come back to having them put the silk fence before they get their permit. And then once they
Yeah,
get
but
their
that's
permit,
like day 1 or day
Yeah.
-1. So I'm talking about like in the middle of the project.
no, we don't only do the silk fence, we don't only do that. We do inspections for the septic tank, the new ones now.
Okay.
And then we go and we do the grease trap maintenance. We go around and my guys go around and do inspections for the grease traps.
But,
And then when they do that, there's nobody in the office.
but there's like, you don't have the people power to just do spot checks, like what I think with ski districts.
No,
So for, just, I just wanted to add for, the Tuesdays and Thursdays field work. So every other week, they kind of like switch it, right? So the first week would be Tuesdays and Thursdays, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, admin, which is all the paperwork and permit reviews and et cetera. And then the next week, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday field work, Tuesdays, Thursdays, admin. And then the third week, it's back to Tuesdays and Thursdays, et cetera. So we flip flop it. I'm trying to get a feel of, how that is working out. So I just need to get back to our guys on that. We started that like a couple months ago.
and then when GWA has a fog, they call it a hotspot.
Yeah.
We go out and we hit the deck and we start doing inspections and we try and find out where is that grease coming from. Yeah. We do the whole. Actually, I'm gonna tell you right now, we did the whole island. We did the whole island. And we had a lot of the grease traps replaced. So before this meeting, I was just talking to our legal counsel here about the next round when they go out and they do a drop-in inspections for the maintenance. Because we already told them what they need to have to comply. And if they don't,
By X amount of time.
we're gonna hit them with a notice of violation of it. Because the maintenance and then GWA's calling up and say, hey, we have a fog clog over here, this area, we really need you guys' help to come out. So we work with GWA also.
And in addition to their facility inspections for construction, they also do complaints. So the whole agency does complaints on top of their mandated
And
program.
our day starts with, where are we gonna get a car? That's our day.
How many cars do you have? Are there for inspectors?
That's the start of the day when my inspectors come in. They're like, boss, where are we gonna get a car? Sorry. Go and see the other areas if they're gonna use it, if they're not, then, then we're cut down on time. We're cut down on time because the other programs will say, sure, you can use it, but can I bring it back within, certain hours or what?
So the people shortage we have and then car shortage.
When they say car, they mean agency official.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just
and
to be
then,
clear.
if we fill the vacancies that we're advertising for, I think we're gonna be in trouble because we don't have space.
Yeah.
You go,
We don't have space.
we can't get, you get people walk down the street.
Yeah,
and check this
you
out.
might have to have the board meeting and, virtually. This is gonna be like one area for.
So that's two things. I mean, the employees and then vehicles. What else? And space. Well, that's
Employees for us because the new regulations for the type 4 system. You know what that entails? Entails for them, when they get the new system, they have to get a permit with Guam EPA. And when they get the permit with Guam EPA, you have to renew every year. So before you renew it, we have to go out and we have to inspect every septic system, and they have to have a maintenance log in regards to that system that's there. It's much more complicated than it is. So, yeah. Meaning, I'm just bracing myself because I'm saying like, what, a year now, and Johnny, my boss, is telling me, this is the calm before the storm, because once people start saying, we need to renew our septic tanks, I only have 4 inspectors. We can do all that, but then what about the complaints? What about the, building permit inspections and all that? Soil erosion control. Yeah.
But we try to offset our field days.
And I always say, I hate this word when they say we're short staffed. I always tell my team, no, let's just do what we can and just do what we can, stay there. If you're stressed out, talk to me. Because my team is very happy. They love me. And she will tell you that. I always tell her, let me know what the problem is. And if it's that bad, I'll handle it. And then you can take care of something else. So.
Thank you.
But back to the enforcement, it's the same thing as what Mr. Nicolas was saying there. Same procedure. Stop work order, that.
Yeah, so for enforcement inspections, do you, like in a given week, you kind of know how many you do? Not right now, but I'm saying, do you have that, like a report or like, do you generate anything?
I'm starting to get back into the enforcement because the inspector program itself has just been 1 year put together. Been 1 year since January. So, I've been wanting to work with trying to get into that compliance part. Trying to talk to Johnny more about it and all that, but Johnny's wearing 2 hats. He's an engineer and he's the chief. So I don't want to be over there and nudging him and stressing him out because,
There's a lot on his plate, right?
but I'm glad that.
Of course. Kristen is here.
Yeah.
She said, she told me, when do you have a meeting? But when she said that, I'm telling you, I was like, whenever I'll work around your schedule.
Okay.
So we do have a meeting next
time.
week.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Right, let's go to the next topic. 6A, Bill 57-38, in your board packet, we have the testimony of Guam EPA on Bill 57-38. Anything more that we should do? Steve?
I turned in my comment, but it was a day late, so it didn't get on the public record. But I sent it to all the senators, what I said about it.
I've reviewed Michelle's testimony and I don't have any other comments.
I would just like what we were talking about last time. When these kind of things come up, it'd be nice to know about it in advance so we could,
Yes.
talk about it. And I think that's what.
Yeah, so I think the agency reports every month on upcoming bills.
Yep.
This one was fast. That's, I think this one's a little different, right? Okay.
It's like when the new legislature came in, it just
Right.
Are we good with this topic or discuss it?
And so it's done except for them voting on it.
Okay.
We can't do anything but save stuff.
Any public comments?
This is where we talk about things we'd like to see next time.
Yeah.
Glenn, do you think we could look at permit fees and things for permitting? And then just an idea that and I think you may mention our Fran, but it's like an induction for board members. Because really, when we started talking, I'm like, yeah, that's right. Because I remember trying to figure out what my scope was here on the board. But if we had like someone to introduce everybody, that
Like
works great.
training.
Yeah, and then
Training, yeah.
yeah.
That's what we're talking about, yeah.
yes, and I think that would be a good idea, a good way to help new members because you get here and you're just, and luckily I had people here that I knew that helped me try not to step on my own feet or stuff like that.
So you wanted to know about permits or?
Yeah, permit fees, yeah,
Permit fees.
like what are our permit, and this comes up because I'm on another board and one of the permits for 1 year from public health is like $300. And I'm like, more are we on that? Because I remember hearing something like $10 or something or something.
And when was the last time they were increased? That type of data.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess
Because
I get it.
if we're short vehicles, then if we maybe
Yeah.
And
updated
you
our
get to
permits.
keep the fee money.
Yeah,
Throw away.
yeah, not give them to somebody
it
else.
has to go through legislation, right?
Yeah, it stays with the program, but any increases will have to go through the process of the state board. But yes, I know that Michelle had mentioned that we need to take a look at our fee schedule and start adjusting accordingly.
And so given that will probably take a year, let's.
We don't
yeah.
even charge to do inspection.
Yeah, see that.
Let's say we go out there, we do the inspection and it's disapproved. We can go back there so many times. And we are the only ones that don't charge.
So maybe if you go and you're compliant, then no charge. But if they're not, we have to go each time. It's something.
Not like, I don't know if you guys know, but I know that public health, they charge even to expedite. But then I'm hearing from the people out there, they go, wow, we pay extra 100 some. But even to expedite, they have to wait a month. No, seriously, I'm like, wow.
There's like even in the EMS, we have a tracked fee schedule, right? But like the lab doesn't charge any fees. We do testing for importers that come in, right? So there's, and Kristen and I talked about it. Michelle and I have talked about it. We've all talked about it, I think. So it's a good topic to bring out.
And yeah, and especially with, eventually this new lab will be constructed. And so some new fees will have to align with that.
Correct, but I think we're well past an update to the
Yeah.
fees that we currently have.
Yeah, we have a lot of unfunded mandates that we're doing as well. I get this email, hey, how much you guys charging for the disposal plan? And I'm like, free, right?
It makes you think, right?
But yeah, we need to reevaluate the programs that we're managing and the services that we're providing. And if we're not charging a fee, we need to start looking at charging and then updating our fee schedule.
I think Brian had brought that up
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
ago before he left, and it just never.
It's a
I have
hard
this
one
draft
to
and
change
suggestion.
fees because you will have to have a public hearing. And you're gonna hear from the public. So
Yep.
it is hard and it does take a long time. So,
And it's not gonna be positive when you hear it.
let's start now. The only other comment I would have to say is, when you're saying you're doing an inspection and you mentioned data, so it would be good to just track my 4 guys, we did these many inspections, we did this, each type. And just for yourself, so your year, progress
Yes.
They don't
And
have an admin person
to
to
do
do
it.
all that data entry for them.
No, but they have now.
But we do
Yeah.
report the number of inspections we do
Yes.
quarterly and
Yes, quarterly.
annually. We
Yeah.
do that already.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then weekly, we report it to Arlene,
Okay.
what our activity is
Yeah.
for the week.
So see, that's good enough. You're already capturing it,
Mhm.
right? And I think just, this just good data for the board, a year over year or
Mhm.
quarter over quarter.
October,
so-
month, and the report.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean.
And
you
then we
know,
also
not
have our
burden
citizen
people.
centric
Yeah.
reports that
Yeah. that's
capture.
Yeah.
that
That's-
So,
stuff.
but it has a number, like you say, like you said, you do weekly. So you say in the past week, water did 10 inspections.
Oh, we know that.
You know that number.
Yeah. Those are your key performance indicators, right? So your key performance, here's where we are, and this month we were above it.
Okay.
This month we were below it, but then one on vacation. So, you know, here we are. So you kind of know, where your key
I
performance
haven't
is.
even been on vacation for over how many years?
You know,
Over
you only
5
get-
years.
Are you on the old, you're not on the old, you're not old enough for the old plan.
Oh.
So too bad for you, sorry.
But I've been here in the agency for what, 21 years?
Yeah, you're too young.
Oh, but I'm a grandpa already.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, that doesn't put stripes on me?
It does, but not for the old
Okay,
plan.
Connie, what's up? You got something?
Oh, no, no, no. I was gonna say in regards to the CCR, that's on an annual report that has numbers. So that's not on a weekly or monthly. That's an annual.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone have any other questions, comments? Okay, let's motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is scheduled for April 17th,
Okay.
third Thursday.
Twenty-one years and this is my first board.
Hey.
I must say, I
I've been here.
must
More board
say,
meetings than-
I know, but I must say, I enjoy
Oh, yeah. there's-
I second.
Someone motion?
You.
Oh,
Is
is
there
there
a
a motion? Yeah.
I motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you much, everybody.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you.
All right.
Put these two on the.